What's going on, guys? In the video you're about to watch, this is a recording from last Friday with Brendan and myself on Instagram. If you want to follow Brendan, he goes by Brendan Scott Official
on Instagram.
And in this video, we covered his Shopify private label mix thing that he's working on. We also talked about podcasts and then some social media things as well. So if you're looking at improving your social media game, you want to get into podcasting or learn about Shopify and private label, definitely check this out. How's the day shaping up for you?
Good. Just, lunchtime here. Just hanging out. Got to head out to work soon and, just working on a bunch of other things. Podcast just launched today, the 7th episode. And also I just finished repacking my private label. So that's a little fun.
By repacking, like different packaging?
So that's a funny story. So we originally were doing Amazon private label, and we ran into some issues regarding trademark and a couple other things. That was a mistake I made on my end. And currently, our current product is not allowed to be sold on Amazon. So what we have now done is me and my partner, he's a silent partner, we went and created a Shopify store. We created a Shopify private label. We're selling mostly locally and domestically and expanding outwards because I have experience with Shopify drop shipping. And so we've created basically Shopify private label is what we're calling it. And Shopify private label. And so we're just going about that way. And then we're looking to outsource our actual fulfillment of that private label through Amazon's third-party fulfillment.
Smart. So you had to create like removal orders and that to get the product back then, I take it?
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome, Chris. Welcome, Dami. Okay, that helps. Appreciate that. Hi, FBA gal. Hi, Chris.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Yeah, no, you sound good. Yeah, so awesome. You had to, but it seems like it's going fairly quick then for you, Brendan, if you had the product there, then found out about it, and then removed it.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. I was in mid-shipping plan. So when I created the listing was working. It was able to be sent off. I created a fulfillment plan, everything of that. I had the units all packaged. I had the labels printed, and then I logged into my Seller Central one day, and it said, your detail page is removed. And I was like, oh. So I emailed Amazon asking why they pull it, and apparently there's a trademark issue that their API went through and just pulled it. And they're like, yeah, it doesn't work. You need to have various permissions. And we're like, all right, we didn't know that. That was our fault. And so we just had to go from there.
So you knew from the shipping plan stage then?
Yeah, I found out right before I was about to literally slap a shipping label on the box and walk to the UPS store. Like the day of, I found it, and I was like, okay, so here we go. So we had to get a little creative. So Shopify private label is what we've now created as our idea for it. And,
private label.
Yeah, so.
Does anybody else find that name funny, or have you guys heard that before? I've never heard that before.
I've never heard that before. I think it's probably someone's probably said it before me, but I just said, I'm like, screw it, Shopify private label, that's what it is. And then we are outsourcing third-party fulfillment to do that. So it's essentially like Amazon FBA, except the difference is we're not on the Amazon marketplace yet. Now, for variations of our product, we can go put them back on Amazon, but just for our current product that we do have, we're not able to put it on Amazon.
Okay, will you still be able to use like the data from Shopify then to, get those customer metrics and things?
Yeah, can do full customer metrics. I can also do email marketing. So I can send out like a blast, like you want this variation of the product. We don't have this variation yet. Sign up your email. We'll send you a link when it gets into Amazon or on our website.
Okay. In the past, you said you had some Shopify experience. What did you sell, or what were you doing?
I was doing drop shipping. I did drop shipping for about 8 months via that. It was off and on, I find. It's not what people say drop shipping is. And start now and make $10,000 in your first 30 days. That's a very rare occurrence that happens within.
Is it more of like an upfront research and
Yeah,
really time intense and money intense in the upfront?
it can be, yeah. Because you have to test products because you never know what's going to be a winning product that way or like what's going to be a successful seller. So you have to kind of play around with it and test multiple products, find different audiences, check everything, see what works for you. And if you find a product that works well, you can then scale it via Facebook ad platform, social influencers. But you have to go outside the box of what the standard YouTuber says. Post an ad, a $20 ad on a really saturated social channel like on Instagram or something, and expect to have $1,000 in sales. It's not a thing anymore.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people in here probably have heard of private label and are maybe interested in it as well. Is it kind of like a matter of like driving traffic to your Shopify store?
Yeah,
or like I guess I'm sorry about that. I'm switching between Shopify and private label, but
it's so with Amazon, people who come to Amazon are looking to buy. It's a website that made people are either going to go look with the intent to buy, or they're looking with the further down the road on window shopping, but still at the same time, I want to buy stuff. That's what Amazon's meant for. And so when you come past like social channels such as Shopify and you have to direct eyes to the website, you have to look more into the aspect that people are looking just to check it because they're curious, or they're looking because they want to buy. So there's two different types of traffic that way, and converting that traffic, that becomes the new challenge versus on Amazon FBA, where you can just I got to create a listing, I got to create ads, I got to get ranked. Because
so you're going to have a pretty large ad spend then as well.
Yeah, we have to factor the ad spend in, but our margins are high enough that I've done the calculations on it, and there's enough margin there that we can do ad spend, and we have to play around with it.
Okay.
So we're mostly because with our private label product that we have, I've targeted towards 20 to 30-year-old millennials, people who are tech focused, and for that market. And instead of running Facebook ad platform off the start and playing around with it and spending a lot of money trying to find the right niche, we're just going off micro influencers. So micro influencer being someone who has 1,000 followers, but they're the football star at their high school, and they have 1,000 followers, but they get 800 likes on a photo. They have an 80% engagement rate, and when they set trends and they set styles, and they're local micro influencing in that way. So they go and they'll go buy, or not buy, but buy our product, or we give them our product, and then they decide that oh, I'm going to take a photo of this. They walk around, and then that engagement rate on their social channels, even though they have such a small audience, the engagement rates are much higher than what would be a 25,000 person audience on an Instagram page, but only gets 200 likes, 300 likes on average.
Okay, there's kind of a nugget in that just right there, Brendan, in that it doesn't matter if you have 2,000 followers, or it doesn't matter if you have say 300. It sounds like that engagement piece is the best part of it.
Yeah,
the most important part.
Yeah.
So what does something like that cost, if I may ask, to approach an Instagram influencer, ballpark or whatever you can share?
So it's from experience. I find the bigger pages, say for example, there's some really big Instagram pages, especially in the entrepreneurship niche, Investing Simple, Millionaire Mentor, people like that who are extremely large pages with hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. And they get really high engagement rates, yes. But the difference is their audience is much larger, and it also costs a lot more. If you're going to post an ad on them, you have to probably pay a couple $1,000s, versus a micro influencer who gets 80% engagement rate on an audience of 1,000. People who comment, view it, see it, literally follow this person. I just have popularity kind of thing. That on a scale that's grander. If you were to micro influencer versus a big page. So a 1,000,000 followers versus 1,000 followers, 1,000,000 followers will win. But if you take 1,000 followers and scale that up, that increases exponentially in how much engagement you get versus the big influencer. And the price for that as well, because they're such small people, they may not even look for payment. You just give them a product and they just want to shout it out because they've never had something like that, or they don't know how to negotiate influencer prices, or they've never even heard of it to begin with.
So that can be pretty lucrative then.
So micro-influencer, I think, is the new, because social media influencers are still the cheapest form of engagement and advertisement, in my opinion. versus the actual quantifiable like Facebook and Google platform. You can get a lot more raw engagement and targeted engagement within a niche if you're using influencers. And the micro influencer, I think, will be the next step in that whole social media influencers, because everyone will be using the big ones, and these little people who have the 1,000 followers and the super high engagement rates and are like the football star, the cheerleader, all those people will have more leverage if you multiply that outwards than just one big influencer in itself.
Okay. Welcome, Sell Quick Ship. Welcome, Malaysia, Monetary Ocean, Bartering Bart. Hi, Oscar. Thanks for the hearts too, guys. Hi, Rachel. Welcome. If you guys have any questions, right now we're talking about private label here, and we're kind of switching between Shopify. So from what I understand then, Brendan, from what you're telling me, is it's important to actually know your demographic first. So,
yes.
Millennial 20 to 24 male or whatever. And then you're essentially finding an influencer that meets that demographic. And then then you approach them. Excuse me, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no worries. Exactly like that. So, like, if it was possible, I don't think there's a way to do this on a grand scale yet. Next to maybe paying a virtual assistant or a couple of virtual assistants to message every single 20 to 24-year-old who has popular or has a couple thousand followers that way to do it. I think that would carry a much more higher return on investment in ad spend versus doing a $10,000 social media post on a page with 1 million followers.
Okay, sure.
It has its ups and its downs for both sides, because one's more time consuming than the other, but it's where that turning point would be, in my opinion.
Yeah,
using the micro influencer. And when it comes down to private label, stuff like that in private label, you don't really have to do. If you're on Amazon private label, you run pay per click to your listing, or Amazon listing, you got to rank higher on Amazon, and organically sales will come in because people are looking to buy right off the bat. Versus with Shopify, you have to peak audience and engage with them and find the right people who are willing to buy. So it's two separate sides of selling in that sense.
I mean, Shopify sounds nice, though. I mean, the driving traffic thing, that sounds like it sucks, because with Amazon, you get the traffic already.
Yeah, exactly.
But I suppose the customer retention would be, through the roof then, if you captured an email or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Looks like we got a question here.
What made you choose the platform over any such like WooCommerce, Wix, or any other similar platforms? So I chose Shopify because I understand it, and they've also done the best job marketing. The consumer friendliness, in my opinion. I know WooCommerce. I haven't had much experience with WooCommerce. I've played around with Wix once or twice, but I find Shopify is the most best situated because they have everything in one place. I know that a lot of other platforms do have that as well, but Shopify has just appeared to me and feels tailored best towards my needs, in my opinion.
Is it fairly easy to, how quickly could you set up a store?
So me and my partner, my business partner, today actually, before this call, we were setting up the store and getting the private label package and everything. And it's been probably 3 days, and we have almost a fully functioning website. Do note that there's two of us, so the work gets cut in half essentially. And also, my business partner is very good at coding HTML, so there's a lot of integrations that he's put in himself that are not static that Shopify would have. He's made them and created them within the website. So it makes things a bit easier, and there's also that trade-off, essentially.
How did you meet the silent partner?
Uber.
Really? No kidding?
Yeah. So the funny story behind that I got off work, so I work at a restaurant. My chef's a hard ass and everything, but I got off work because I had to close, and it's probably 12 o'clock at night, and I got in the car. I was talking to this guy, chatting with him, and we were just talking about I had him for a couple times for Uber driver because it was really it's pretty small. I have the same Uber drivers from time to time, and we were talking about cryptocurrency. We were just shooting the shit, and it's all right, cool chatting with you. See you later. A week later, I had the same driver. We were talking. I mentioned Amazon retail arbitrage, and from there, he was chatting about it. He's like, yeah, I did research. I really want to look into that. I have a friend who's doing that. And I was like, hey, I'm looking to do a private label. I know what to do. I know logistics. I know how to do all of that stuff. You're a marketing guy, because he's very creative minded. I said, you're good at marketing. I suck shit at marketing. And so we kind of just made like, we go 50-50 kind of thing. You can do the marketing. I can do the logistics, design, and like all the physical stuff that they don't understand.
So you guys complement each other pretty well then.
But we met through Uber. He was my Uber driver, and we actually met via that, which is pretty cool. I don't know if Uber has like a thing for that, if they want to claim something, but I'm just not going to say that, or just let them know that was a thing. But yeah.
Yeah. No, Uber's wonderful. I mean, yeah, never had met a driver, but never met a business partner though either.
Yeah, I met a couple people. 2 people I interviewed on my podcast. One guy I interviewed, his name was Peter. He was an Uber driver that I had. He's the #1 Uber driver in all of Canada, and he lives in my area. I had him as an Uber driver, got his number, and I messaged him and I said, hey, do you want to come on the podcast? And he drove like the CEO of Uber around when he was in Toronto. And he was telling me about that and sharing the stories and how he's met very powerful people driving through Uber, vice presidents, CEOs of companies, just because he drives in the Toronto area. And I was
how many rides did he have?
20,000. I believe. 20,000 plus, almost 25,000.
Gosh.
So it was insane, because it's just talking to this guy. He's a life coach as well. So just his outlook and his positivity, because he drives with Uber, he literally has talked to 25,000 people that way, shares his advice, and then also his stories that he's had regarding that. It's really cool. And, I have that episode on my podcast. If anyone in the audience wishes to go check that out, links in the bio. But yeah, it's really cool the people you can meet through Uber.
Oh, what's the easiest way to find your podcast?
So link in my bio, it's a Linktree link, and you go in, and there'll be the link to the Anchor FM one, and there'll also be an Apple Podcast link. And then you can go in, and it's the second episode that I made.
And it's called the BS podcast?
The BS podcast, yeah, because my initials are BS, so I just rolled with that.
It might draw definitely an attention factor because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got talking about your podcast here now, and there might be some people that also might want to start that. How did you begin, or what does it take?
So the best way I looked at it is I started this social media account probably about a month and a half ago. I just hit 600 followers yesterday for a brief moment, and I think I'm just under 600 right now. But about a week after starting this social media account, I was like, I want to be multi-platform, because my brand, my personal brand, which is this account, Brendan Scott Official, would not exist, and I just disappeared. So I was like, I want to create a second platform, and I just like to talk a lot. So I basically created a podcast, the BS podcast, because someone said, you should just start a podcast. And I was like, all right, I'll start a podcast. And so I've just kind of rolled with that. And to get started, it wasn't that hard. Like, I used GarageBand. I downloaded Anchor FM because it's a free podcast editing app. It comes with a lot of different plugins. It's very seamless, and it also distributes your podcast amongst everything evenly and very quickly. And I really found that cool. So I did that. I launched my first episode with my buddy. He's currently in Thailand right now, because he's a drop shipper, and he is in Thailand just because he feels like it. He's living there. So that's pretty cool. And so I interviewed him for my first podcast, and I kind of just every week, every Friday, I drop a new episode, just talking to new people or just talking about different things. And it's pretty good.
Yeah. Welcome, Single Guy Saving Money. I like that username.
Hey, Steve, how are you, man?
The J Ennis, yeah. Carlos, hey. E. Coleman, welcome, guys, welcome. We're talking about podcasts right now. So you essentially just started taking one step, and one step led to another. Are there costs with Anchor? I mean, other than a microphone and a couple things, it sounds fairly,
Yeah, so with the microphone, I have my microphone right here because everything's hooked up to my desk, essentially. So I have my microphone right here. I can just pull into the thing. So it's literally just like a standard audio stand. It's a Milano.
Nice.
I got this the other day. It's an absolutely fantastic microphone to use, and it cost me about $80. But before that, I was using I was using a small condenser microphone, and it cost me $25 to buy the microphone. I did my first 5 episodes on that microphone.
Jeez. And
So,
does Anchor charge anything, Brendan?
No, Anchor's free until you monetize Anchor. So you can go and support podcast people after you've released. I think it's like after 3 episodes, people can then go support your podcast. So they can go and donate $10 over the month, and they will take, for example, like 13. They take 4.5%, and then Stripe, because Stripe is their payment platform they use. Stripe takes 5. So you basically, if you get $100, they're going to take 9.5 from it.
Okay.
In fees. 9.5% of every cut you make.
So that doesn't seem very big. Sell Quick, Ship Quick's talking about how he's got the account but wasn't sure how to start. So once you create the account, how does it work, Brendan? Do you just kind of tell them who you are?
Yeah, so like for me, for example, like my dad, he was in radio. So I've kind of grown around my entire life, essentially, people who did podcasts and radio and talking. So like how I structured is I do an introduction, I introduce the person I talk about, just a quick little blurb, blah, blah, blah. I go into the main content feed where I'll edit like the cuts, like the ums, does, kind of thing. Condense that down, any issues like that, just to tailor the audio to make it sound better. And then I'll just put a conclusion. And, most podcasts could run from 10 minutes. They could also run to 55 minutes. My newest one I had with Frankie Cote, his was almost an hour, his podcast episode that I did.
So you could pretty much tailor it however you want then.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you just go basically like a YouTube video then, and you go to the website and upload the audio file?
Yeah, you just you just walk in, you just drag and drop it in, you hit download or post, and you put a little description and a title, and it just boom, it posts it, and then it'll also distribute it to all the podcast platforms as well. So it does that for you. It's all automated. So it distributes to Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify. There's a couple other smaller ones like Radio Now, Stitcher. There's about 13 podcast platforms that'll distribute to over time. So it's pretty cool that way.
Wow. And then what were you saying about your dad? I didn't quite catch that little tidbit.
He did radio for almost my entire life.
Oh, jeez.
So, like, I've had that experience being around the microphone and chatting with people and, like, how they structure, interviews that way. So it's kind of natural for me to do that. And I just understand it a bit better.
And where are you from?
Toronto, Canada.
Toronto. Okay, so a Toronto radio station he's worked for a long time.
Yeah, just outside of Toronto. So it's pretty cool that way. But yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy it. Because you get to meet a lot of cool people that way. It's a really easy way to network and chat with people. And it also creates a bit of like an influence that way. You can start voicing your opinions, and people will pick up on that. And then, they can take what they wish out of the knowledge and the tidbits, and it just creates your personal brand. It helps infuse it all together that way.
Okay, I've heard something similar to that. Basically, people said people will go to your YouTube videos or your podcast or what have you because, let's say, I'm looking for how to fix my muffler or something. And anyways, say your video's on mufflers. I'm getting a little off here, but let's say they watch your video, and then that interaction is done. But when you start, like you said, taking stances and being more personal and developing your actual personality, that's what people stay there for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so how I've heard it, like, simply put, is within 90 days, if somebody's still, like, with you, following you, subscribed to you, or whatever, that, they're doing it at that point because they actually like you as a person.
Yeah, and that's the great thing, because that's personal brand right there. You create a following that way. And the loyalty that goes with it. And then, of course, you always give back to your audience. You engage with them. Yes, it is. Like, I know a lot of people who are in this chat right now. Shout out to all you guys.
Thanks for coming, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty active, which is cool. So, cool that way. And then also, it's just community. It creates community.
Sure.
It's
so,
or
go ahead.
Like for podcasts, for example, I'm pretty sure everyone's heard at least one of the top 5 podcasts: Tim Ferriss Show, Ty Lopez Show, the Grant Cardone TV show or whatever it is, Gary Vaynerchuk audio experience. Probably everyone in this chat's heard of one or two of them. But like all these people, like, you know, they interview people, they talk to people, they talk about things. It's their personality that draws people back.
Are those some of your favorites, Brendan, or which ones do you like?
I like the Gary Vaynerchuk one because I just like how he's straight to the point. He's very clear and concise in his opinions. They also don't make sense from time to time, but at the same time they do. If that makes any sense at all. Like,
well, I've heard him contradict himself before, but sometimes you need to speak to that person that way, and you need to speak to that person that way to help them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I listened to one of his podcasts the other day. He's like, you should fire your best employee. So like there's certain, like, it comes with other stuff. That was a very biased saying that I just said there, but he does say that one thing. He's like, you should fire your best employee. And then people click his podcast and listen to it. And he talks about if your best employee is your worst social employee and tearing everyone down, you got to fire him to keep culture alive. And he talks about that. And it's like, you know, people listen to that and like to consume whatever they do, whether they're driving to work, working out. It helps them learn. It's a learning way rather than just listening to music.
Oh, sure. Did he recently have a change up within his organization?
He talks about how he hired like the second in command is like the head of HR.
Okay.
So he focuses a lot on culture within his organization.
But didn't he have D-Rock or something leave, or is that not the case?
I'm not sure with that. I don't follow it that in depth. I listen to the podcast from time to time, but I'm not really following what's going on within his little circle.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I didn't actually see it on the video. Somebody reshared one of the posts from, I thought it was D-Rock, but maybe it was somebody else. And he was talking about engaging on Instagram and how you should have 25% of your time posting, 25% of your time DMing, 25% of your time doing stories, and 25% of your time commenting, maybe?
Yeah, so I do the commenting. Like, I believe in that. Like, I do like to do the stories because people like to, you know, you post different content on your story than what you would post on your feed. So like, I try to post once a day on my feed. I'll try and do a story at least twice a day if possible, or I'll do like a quick little brief, just me talking. DMing, I'll DM most of the people. Like, I'll chat with them and be like, hey, what's up? Congrats on this. Good job on that. And then the commenting is what I mostly focus on. So like, I'll go through and I'll talk to people and be like, I'll actually give personalized comments to every single person. So every single person I follow on my Instagram, I have commented at least 3 times on their photos. So I have 626 followers on Instagram. I've commented on every single one of them.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's impressive.
It just creates the personal when you talk to someone. So it's like FNS resellers right there. Hey, how are you? Kind of thing. You know, you individual. People love individualism. You know, everyone loves their name in that way. It's like Dale Carnegie's principle. It's like if you single people out and make them feel special that way, and not for manipulation, actually to be courteous, you can create better community, better following that way than just like, you know, people who just post a million times over and they just get the bots that follow them.
Right, really. I think it makes you more like a person too when I see stories. I mean, Sell Quick, Ship Quick's jumping in here, and I totally agree with that because sometimes I don't know if somebody is the real deal when I see their feed because maybe it's quotes or maybe just because there's a couple personal pictures. But when I see their story, you know, then I'm like, oh, they're a real person.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And like, I've had that experience as well. Like, you'll get the bots, so like the people have the spam bots that like comment on all your photos, and you're like the same guy. Yeah. Like the same guy comments. I had this happen the other day. Same guy commented the same comment on like 9 of my photos like 3 weeks ago. I was like, okay, you're a robot. And then you look at his feed, and it's like it's photos of him, and he's posting stuff. And there's one photo that kind of draw out because he was in Toronto, and you can do this thing where you can essentially fly past the CN Tower in Toronto in a small little powered plane. And I'm looking at it, and he's like, oh, flying around in Toronto by myself. And he's on the right side of the plane, and the driver's seat, like the pilot's seat, is on the left side. I was like, you're full of shit. And, you know, and it's just one of those things. It's little things that kind of throw me off.
All right. And you know stuff about pilot, because as I understand, that's some of your background, too? Yeah,
I got my pilot's license when I was 16 years old. I got my glider's license. When I was 17, I got my power pilot license.
Can you actually fly passengers then? Or you know, not in the commercial level, but
yeah, in a Cessna. So I can do Cessna 172. I can do a glider. I can do an ASK-21 glider. I'm just saying numbers to people who don't understand it, but I know I have a couple of followers who are actually pilots and they understand what those aircraft are. So like, let's just say like a little tiny 4-seater propeller plane. And I've done flights past the CN Tower, which is the tallest building in Canada. You can fly within like less than a kilometer of it, like right next to it, like over the heart of Toronto. It's so cool.
Wow.
So it's a lot of freedom that way. It's really cool.
Oh, cool. So you keep up your licensing and all that then, so you could like today if you wanted.
Not today. I haven't flown. It's been a while since I've flown, just over the winter. Why? It's hard to fly in the winter.
Oh.
Because they're not like pressurized cabins and heated and everything, so it's a little difficult. It's really cold to fly in the winter. It's not as friendly as it would be in the summertime.
Okay, so you're more of so summertime you could though.
Yeah.
And you're in Canada, so when's that start? Like June?
Well, the weather's actually clearing up pretty good right now. We had a nice warm day the other day with like 19 degrees out, which is, for any people who live in America or not from Canada, that's probably the warmest we've had in 6 months. So.
Okay, I was gonna say we had 38 degrees or 42 degrees just the other day. It's been brutal.
Wow. Yeah, we only get like that for like 2 months, and then it drops back down. We have winter for about 8 months now, and then winter being just rain, cold, and then it goes back down to the negatives, and then comes back up in the summertime between like June, August.
Okay. Do you have like retail arbitrage people in Toronto? I mean, of course you do, but like to what level do you have it in Toronto? Like, do you see people scanning stuff, or do you follow some people?
I have never seen another retail arbitrage person in my area, and I live in a very I live on the east side of Toronto, and I have never seen someone with an Amazon seller account going and scanning stuff anywhere in my city.
What about the Nike outlet? Do you have Nike outlets there?
I don't know where a Nike outlet would be around here. I think that's mostly an American thing or closer towards the border. But we have like Winners, which is like Marshalls kind of thing. Or the Walmarts. You walk into Walmart. I've never seen anyone ever scanning things. I've been the only one.
Wow. So you can do whatever you want then.
Yeah. It's also, we don't also have the best clearance items either. There's not a lot of stuff on clearance, so it's not the best that way either.
So it's
like like you guys have like aisles of clearance stuff on for like $1 and everything. That's not really prevalent in the Walmarts up here. So it's a bit more difficult to do retail arbitrage, but it's still doable.
Okay. Do they have several DCs? Does Amazon have a lot of distribution centers around you then too?
So we got 4 distribution centers in Toronto.
Wow.
All based around. I think they opened up a new one in the downtown Toronto. So they do 2-hour shipping in downtown Toronto. So like they do it by courier and stuff. It's pretty cool. But their network in this area is very, very big. Okay. So they got 2 on the west side of Toronto. They got 1 on the north side, and they got 1 towards the east slightly. Right, they're all central around the airport for if they have to fly stuff in, because the Prime Air will fly in from time to time, and it's right by, so it's centralized. And we have a couple fulfillment centers out west in British Columbia, and they just opened up one in Ottawa, but that's it.
Okay, so there's still, because I heard like Amazon in Canada it's still kind of increasing or whatever, but it's there. There's opportunities, and I know some people, like there's a Kevin Reed and there's I can't remember the other guy's name, but they'll kind of see what's going on here in the States, and then they might make a new listing of that product in the Canadian markets.
Yeah, and our Canadian market is much smaller than the American market. So like the American market is probably about 20 times bigger than the Canadian market. So if you were to list something in Canada versus in America, it would sell much less frequent in Canada than it would in America, just because there's less people, there's less buying power, the market's smaller.
Okay.
That way.
Was your private label product then in Canada, or was it in the States?
In Canada.
Okay. So so like a little thing here, would that also be important when you're looking for an influencer to find somebody in Canada then too? Yeah, definitely. I'd have to find a Canadian influencer that way, or find an American influencer that would have to basically say, hey, to my Canadian friends who are part of my audience, this is a product that would really suit you guys. Okay, so that's pretty huge though too, because when you're going back to the demographic thing that we were talking about earlier, it's the age and the sex and whatever you set up as your demo, but then it's also where they live, or it could be a factor.
Yeah. So there's a lot of variables that way, and then with Shopify we have freedom to mail stuff to America if American buyers wish to do that, and it's also cheaper for them because they are buying at Canadian dollar value, and the American dollar is almost like 30 cents above our dollar, so they're getting stuff for a better deal. It's cheaper that way.
Okay.
So
Cool.
there's a big trade-off in it. You can go one way and say, hey, we do really we have a cheaper product because the dollar's cheaper, versus actually going and selling to Amazon, but it's also a logistical nightmare that we have to figure out, understand, because freight forwarding from Canada to America and the trade war right now is a little sketchy that way.
Okay.
Because tariffs are a little heavy right now.
Oh, tariffs. Okay.
Yeah, but those are all the variables that come with selling on Amazon.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you always got to be willing to learn. But yeah, this is great. For somebody new, or maybe like your best tip or whatever, what would you share with someone? And if anybody's loving this IG live, guys, give us some love, some hearts, please.
So I think the best piece of advice I would give, because I'm on the younger side, so like for me, in my experience, some people who are older would be like, oh, why do we listen to this kid? But I think that the main thing people should focus on is the fact that they should just do stuff. They should just go do things. Go do, don't ask, don't wait for opinions, don't wait for permission. Because some people will go like, hey, should I start this? What's your opinion on this? And then one person will be like, why would you do that? Because they're closed-minded people, and then they don't do it. They don't go do that opportunity that they could have done because someone told them or judged them on it. And they're more worried about what other people think versus themselves.
Okay. Awesome.
So I just think that people should just go do things and be less worried about what other people are thinking about them when they do it. Because, I have people who follow me on my podcast, and they're like, you started a podcast? Why are you doing a podcast? I said, because I want to do a fucking podcast. That's what I do. And, I don't really care what other people's opinions are in regards to me starting my podcast or a social channel or a personal brand that way.
Yeah, and you're not trying to be like all judgy, and you're not trying to be an a-hole, but you're just saying like, I'm just doing me, so I'm going to make content that's going to flop sometimes, I'm going to make stuff that's great sometimes, and I'm just going to keep on doing. So
it's like you either you love it or you don't. If you don't like it, don't be a part of it. Don't have to. You can tell me that you don't like it. I'm not going to listen to you if you don't like it. I might take it for some feedback and be like, oh, this was good, you might want to tailor this. Okay, great, that's constructive feedback. Great. But if you're coming like your content's garbage, blah, 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 I'm just going to be like, okay, great, you're just wasting my time. Swipe, delete, done.
Right.
Because I've had that a couple of times. I've had people who've actually done that and like literally said your content's garbage, or you're garbage, or your podcast is garbage. And I literally will just say to them, I'd be like, are you doing any of it? And they go, no. And I say, well, you don't have any right to talk. And
right.
It's standing your ground.
That, and I think when you start getting haters, I think that's a sign that you're doing something right.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I had somebody say something was fake when I posted my actual 1099 forms, and it's like, how could this be fake? Like, these are the actual 1099 forms. But then I thought about that, and I'm like, well, shit, maybe I'm doing something right.
Yeah, so I just take it as a compliment that way. If people are hating on me, it means that's either jealousy or they actually took the time to see it, criticize it, and then comment on it. So engagement.
It's been a privilege, though.
Yeah, it was good. It was great talking with you.
You guys all take care, though. Guys, have a good one, and thanks.
Thanks so much for everyone for listening.
Take care, guys.
Cheers, man. Take care. Bye.